FORA.tv. The world is thinking.
What we're discovering is that there's two problems with newspapers: the news and the paper, right? So the first problem is news. What's news? Well, we don't really know anymore. When you look at what people are consuming in terms of information, a lot of it is news that's created by professional journalists, but a lot of it is created by amateurs. It turns out that news to me, the news that my daughter scraped her knee on the playground is news, right? More important to me, and I'm not proud of this, but more important to me than the news that there's been another car bombing in Baghdad. I'm not expecting my local newspaper to report on that, but it is news, and there's my community and my hobbies and my professional interests, my friends, etc. Facebook is news, right? This is news about your world. Now, it's not news as we professional journalists define it, but it counts as it fills that news gap. Then there's the problem of paper, right? In general, all of our jobs are to add value to the internet. The internet is the air we breathe, it's the water we swim in. If the internet's already doing it, you should do something else. So the question is, does your product add value to the internet? And I would argue that let's start with the New York Times, because there's all newspapers are not created equal. But let's start with the New York Times. Do the journalists at the New York Times add value to the internet? Absolutely. Does the paper of the New York Times add value to the internet? Well, you could argue that it's. I'm interviewing the New York Times Magazine this coming Sunday, and it's out already. I just read it online on Wednesday night, and it's out already. When the newspaper lands on when you read this morning's newspaper, is there anything in there that's news to you at this point? You've read it already. So so paper makes the news be 18 hours late and leaves ink on your fingers. So you could argue that's a value subtract proposition. So the question is, okay, so what's still valuable? So let's say some of the reporting is valuable, but valuable most in a medium where we can't make as much money as we did with print. So we need to find a way to make money. We'll talk about that in a second. And then there's the other stuff that actually, how many reporters do you need at the Michael Jackson Memorial Service?
You need more reporters.
More reporters. If the San Francisco Chronicle sends my hometown paper, sends one of the reporters, how much value is that nth reporter adding to So I think we're going to find out that some of what newspapers did they probably shouldn't be doing anymore, and some of what they did remains of value. And so now I'm going to talk about the difference between the San Francisco Chronicle and the New York Times. The Times will be fine. They will figure it out. Maybe they'll be smaller, but what they do still has value. Maybe they'll charge for their iPhone app. They'll give away the web. Maybe they'll find some way to charge for some content, not for other. Maybe they'll find a way to invent a form of advertising that their CPMs can come up. They'll figure it out. My local newspaper, the East Bay Express, etc. They're probably going to be pretty good. They're already pretty lean to me, and they're probably going to be pretty good at covering my local community even better. The San Francisco Chronicle, I'm not sure it has a future. Turns out my interest. So imagine a line of geography, right? That goes 1 mile, 100 miles, 10,000 miles, right? So I've got intense interest in what happens in a mile from my home, and I've got really quite a lot of interest in what happens globally. So I'm interested in Berkeley and Baghdad. I live in the Bay Area. I couldn't give a crap about San Jose. San Jose could be, San Juan. I don't have that. But it turns out the newspapers, the local,
they think you care, right?
City newspapers are built around the notion of the metropolitan area, and that I have this kind of interest in the metropolitan area. In fact, I'm really granular. There's a guy named a terrific writer named Stephen Johnson, who has a company called Outside In, which is all about hyperlocal, et cetera. And what they've discovered is the pothole phenomenon, is that you're interested in a pothole 6 blocks from your house, but not 8 blocks from your house. So if we're all incredibly parochial, if we all sort of have that 6 blocks radius, how do we scale media down to cover every 6 block? Well, obviously the way to do it is we have to let the amateurs cover we have to find a way to help amateurs cover their own community. So I think at the bottom scale, we're going to be sort of coaching amateurs. It's community management, right? And at the top scale, it's going to be traditional journalism in Baghdad, et cetera. The middle scale, covering San Jose, I don't know what's going to happen there. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better.